this time, but stands before you today in a new awareness of what has been, of what has been, is a comprehension about how you self-identify, about how you self-identify through the ideas born in history, through the ideas born in history, how you delegate an aspect of the self, as the forerunner of the experiences you have, at the cost of the aspects of self, at the costs of the aspects of self that are also present, but have been refuted by you, the one who believes she makes foolish mistakes, the one who believes she makes foolish mistakes, and underlines that as how she navigates world, as how she navigates a world, refutes the possibility of great wisdom, the one who decides in love, that he will not be met fully, comprehends himself in isolation, therefore demands it, in spite of any protest, to the contrary, the one who believes herself worthy, still has an outline of what worthiness means, and prohibits other things, that she would not decide, or to be associated with her, The idea of wealth may be permissible, but the idea of love may not be. The idea of goodness may be outlined through an old framework, whereas righteousness may mean something other. Each of you here has experienced only valid, that is not only valid, but is also predetermining, the very life you live. What we wish to do today is remove some of these ideas, take them out of their forefront, take them out of the forefront of your mind, out of the creative acts that you would manufacture through them, and instead place your innate divinity, where the old things have been. Now we don't discount the old. Indeed, you've learned through them. Indeed, you have learned through them, but you justify the old. As a way of comprehending a world, the framework we use, and the framework you use to comprehend a world, claims a world into being for you, claims a world into being for you. This happens on two levels simultaneously. The individual says no. The individual who says no, there cannot be love where I am, there cannot be love where I am, navigates a world that is loveless, navigates a world that is loveless, but she also abides in a community of others, that hold the same frame, and the collective outline, reinforces the very idea of lack, that the common field holds, Now you may substitute anything you wish, any idea of lack, there cannot be enough, because there has never been enough, there has never been goodness, there's always been strife, there has always been strife. The outlining of reality prohibits the other things, would seek to manifest in your experience. You become in collusion, and you become in collusion to the very things you would say you wouldn't want, Now what you put in darkness calls you to that darkness, but what you exclude from the light becomes a framework of destiny for you, In other words, the one who says there cannot be, the one who says this cannot be, creates a roadmap that supports that belief in not, This cannot be, this cannot be. The one who says it may be so, the one who says it may be so, it may be other than I thought, it may be other than I have thought, is granting permission to a new escalation, of intonation, of vibration, or vibration, where the new may be perceived, the one who says it will be so, and the one who says it will be so is actually claiming truth, because at a higher level, the inherent divine that is always present, can and will be known, as what has been lacking, and henceforth transformed. Please explain that, he asks. Please explain that, he asked. Well, when you subjugate yourself, well, when you subjugate yourself to an idea of lack, and you comprehend lack, and contribute to lack, that becomes the frame of your world, that becomes the framework of your world. Your choices are limited, your choices are limited, excluded from what might be other, when you realize the truth, that the idea of lack is preclusive and prohibitive, and you claim the divine, where that idea has been, and you align to the idea, of manifestation as plenty. You're not coercing reality. You are not coercing reality to transform to your wishes. You are claiming reality. You are claiming reality that operates at that level of manifestation or tone. In other words, imagine there is a line in the sand. Imagine there is a line in the sand that you do not cross. When you cross the line, the moment you cross the line, you are someplace other. You are someplace other. You can call it a town or country. You can call it a town or a country, or another way of being, or another way of being. The line was there. But what was true existed. But what was true existed beyond the line. You're encompassing the new. You are encompassing the new that exists in the higher octave. That exists in the higher octave, in the claim, it will be so. God is. Now, when the divine is excluded from something, God cannot be in this terrible thing. God cannot be in this terrible thing. You claim a hell. If the idea of hell is the absence of God, When you claim a hell, you want to put somebody in it. Or perhaps yourself. I am in a hellish day. I'm having a hellish time. I am having a hellish time. This is a hellish episode in my life. You manifest these things. You concur with the outcome. That they seem to offer you. And then you share this outcome. And then you share this outcome with others in a way that you don't even see. Now, the one who walks around in a dark cloud is sharing the darkness, that she seeks to encompass or know herself through. Here comes the dark cloud. You might say, when someone offers herself at this level, at this level, instead of deciding what is through the old rubric or framework that holds the exclusion of the divine. We are asking you now to change the line in the sand, to change the line in the sand, to include the very thing that was put in shadow, You understand the idea that a line in the sand, is actually arbitrary, but so is a country, and a border, so is an agreement, that has boundaries, Any choice that was made in the denial of the divine can actually be reknown, in a higher template, What was included, where what was excluded is included, you become in receipt, and you become in receipt of the new, the manifest new, in the claim, it will be so. God is. Now, this is not magical thinking. But it's important to understand. that if it is raining, you hold up an umbrella, and you hold up an umbrella, it is still raining. You're just getting wet. You are not just getting wet. The difference being that if the rain is source, and source is all around you, and source, and you are precluding source or experience, or your experience of source with the phenomenon through the denial of the divine. It does not mean that the divine is not present, that the divine is not present. It simply means you have said thank you, no. You have said thank you, no. Now, when we teach through Paul, we are very aware of where he is and what his requirements are, and the fear that he holds now. And the fear that he holds now is not not of himself, is not of himself, but of what he creates, but of what he creates. What the human being creates, what the human being creates. We're not speaking through him, we are not speaking through him, but he doesn't understand yet. But he doesn't understand yet that all creative acts are born in an agreement to source, as is every choice made, because source cannot be excluded from him, because source cannot be excluded from them. Even if you claim in a low field, the low field is of God, the low field is of God. God must be all things, God must be all things. Source must be the entire rainstorm, source must be the entire rainstorm, and even the umbrella you hold, and even the umbrella you hold, because how could it not be? Because how could it not be when one is afraid of one's creations? When one is afraid of one's creation, what I think, what I do, what I make, what will come of what I make, what will come of what I make, one puts a scale of measurement attached to the creation, low or high, what you don't know, Paul, what you don't know, Paul, what few of you know, and what few of you know, so the outcome is not up to you, is that the outcome is not up to you. You can make a vase, and a beautiful one that will not hold water, You can make a foolish looking vase. That will suit your purposes well, that will suit your purposes well. When you enlist the divine as co-author, co-creator of any endeavor, the results must be released. The outcome released beyond the old. Again, the line in the sand, being redrawn to include a creation, however it occurs, whatever it resembles, whatever people think of it, and whatever people think of it, which has very little to do with you. The idea of wonder we'll discuss now. The idea of wonder will be discussed now. First as an idea, and then as a way of being, and then as a way of being. The idea of the line in the sand. The idea of the line in the sand that has been arbitrarily drawn, that actually claims you in a limited sense of experience is being redrawn now, and in a higher scale than you know, and in a higher scale than you know. And much of the confusion you are experiencing, all of you are experiencing, is the result of this, the transition that we're undergoing. The transition that you are undergoing in a very limited way, is actually going to be a massive way, is actually occurring in a massive way, and all of you have an experience of it, and all of you are having an experience of it. When the lines are redrawn, what reality should resemble, what politics should be, what politics should be, what peace should look like, what marriage should resemble, what marriage should resemble, what schools should do, and the confusion is persistent. There is an unmooring of a foundational aspect of life, where you've known yourselves through, the comfort of the known, the comfort of the known. The idea that what you once thought would always be there, what you once thought would always be there, will not be there, is actually very unsettling, and you seek to hold on to the old, even the old is failing, even when the old is failing, even the structure we discussed, even when the structures we discuss no longer hold the merits that perhaps they once did, when the line in the sand is redrawn. When the line in the sand is redrawn, you have the unknown before you. Imagine the township, imagine the border of the town, imagine the border of the town, imagine the next town, imagine that in the next town, people look differently than you do, perhaps pray to a different God, have a different system of currency than you have known, The confusion lines are done. The confusion when the line is redrawn. What do I pay for this? What do I pay for this? What does that cost? What does that cost? What's the language to get what I need? And what is the language to get what I need? May feel confused, and it's because it is, and that is because it is what is happening now. What is happening now is that the old is releasing, and the new is seeking to be born, and that the new is seeking to be born. You acclimate to the new, and you acclimate to the new way of being, the new way of being, the new language, the new way of imagining, the new way of imagining that does not preclude, the source of all things, the source of all things. We've been trained in the way you have been entrained, and you've been trained, and indeed you have been entrained to the denial of the divine. God cannot be where that thing is. God cannot be where that thing is. Those people are terribly. Those people should be punished terribly. These people should be lauded. Those people should not. Those people should not. And you take sides, and you arm yourselves, and you reinforce belief, and you reinforce your beliefs in separation, by colluding with one another, because you co-create your world, through intention. The individual who believes herself as unworthy claims the unworthiness in the entire world, when you can finally triumph, I have a right to be, however I appear, whatever I've done, whatever I have done, whatever I might even do, I have a right to be, I have a right to be. You move into a template, or recognition of a template, that holds great promise, because the inherent divine come as you. Because the inherent divine come as you does not hold the old lines in, does not hold the old lines in the sand, does not decree what should be, does not decree what should be through historical data. It is free. It is free of the idea of time and space, and consequently can create, and actually claim a new world into manifestation. This is not when you think, Paul. This is not when you think, Paul. We have to explain this for him. or he will interrupt the end of the teachings. I'm beginning one. It is not about getting what you want. We think the world should be what you think the world should be. That would be a reinforcement. That would be a reinforcement of the old paradigm, perhaps in your idea of an improved state, But imagine this. You want your land to prosper. You don't want those trees that the neighbor put up. You don't want the trees that the neighbor put up to block your lovely view, Your idea of paradise is that the trees are raised, and their idea of outrage, is you getting what you want, Your idea of who should get what she wants, your idea of who should get what she wants, who should win the match, triumph in the war, the election, the marriage, the ownership of the property is held in a bias, and the historical data of separation. To claim the higher is to release the expectation, of how it should be, When you are the co-creator, you're allowing source, or the divine self come as you, that knows the highest outcome, beyond the small self's prescription, allows to come forth, and allows it to come forth when you are aligned in the upper room. When you are aligned in the upper room, which is the octave vibration, which is the octave of vibration above the common field, the resistance is not present. The density is not present. The density is not present in the ways you have become accustomed to, because you are not yet accustomed to operating at this level of tone. You become confused. Again, the line in the sand. Again, the line in the sand. It has been lifted higher. And you're seeking to play the new, and you are seeking to play in the new through the old language, and the old edicts and the old edicts. He interrupts the teaching, but that's all we know. How can we do other? We only know what we've had. We can't confabulate. We cannot confabulate some idea of what's to come, based on nothing. Thank you for that, Paul. That was was the perfect question. That was the perfect question, or the statement that will now pose a question that we will now pose as a question. How does one succumb? How does one succumb to an unknown, to an unknown that has not been outlined, decided upon through the old system? Through the old system. Here is the answer. Here is the answer. It will be so. It will be so. It will be so. It will be so. The divine is it. The divine as it. The divine as outcome. The divine as outcome. The idea is the perfect choice. The divine is the perfect choice. The divine is what is. The divine as what is. God is. God is. God is. God is, God is, God is. It will be so. It will be so. God is, God is, God is, God is, God is, God is. Imagine this claim. Imagine that this claim would grant you the vision, of what seeks to be born, before you get there, with your small self's blueprint, Well, I wanted nicer windows. Well, I wanted nicer windows in my dream house, perhaps the house you go to is all made of windows, what you have chosen, and what you would have chosen would have limited your view, Let God be God. Let God be God. Now, this is not the God. On some mountaintop, that does not know you, This is the God within you. This is the God within you that is also without, This is the seed of the divine in you. This is the seed of the divine with you that claims you, and knows itself through you, I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. The manifest divine, that is free, 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 and that expresses in the room, and that expresses in the upper room. I am in the upper room. I have come. I have come. I have come. This is the self. This is the self that from the upper room claims, behold, I make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. Behold, I make all things new is not the improved idea. It's not the improved idea. It may be completely other than you could have even considered, than you could even have conceived of. Stop limiting yourselves. Stop limiting yourself, something of the source to come through. Stop limiting the source that has come through you, and allow wonder to be present, Why wonder, he asks. Why wonder, he asks, for the simple reason that wonder, when fully experienced, is beyond even language, beyond the limitation that language offers. Imagine you stood now in the presence of source, not some idea of presence, not some idea of presence, but the idea of the source of all things, beyond any codification, that you seek to substantiate it through. Allow yourself on this day to say these words, I am in wonder, and in the experience of wonder, I am aligning to wonder, and the source of all things, implicit in all manifestation that may be experienced from me, that may be experienced through me in perfect ways. It will be so. It will be so. God is, God is, God is, God is, God is, God is. We are with you in spirit. We are with you in spirit. We are with you, Paul. We are with you, Paul, as you decide to let the writing be, what it seeks to be through you, and we wish you each the most joy in this great adventure, because it is so, God is, God is, God is. God is, God is, God is. Please take 5 minutes. Please take 5 minutes. You may return questions, which you may return with questions as they wish. Stop now, please. Stop now, please.